Now, when you were making these first couple of records, where was it? I mean, how were you creating song forms? Did you just have like this will be the verse, this will be the chorus? And the reason I ask is I have found like I'm a rock songwriter. I work with vocals all the time. I'm almost primarily work with vocalists. I've also done film scoring, so I've also done work in the instrumental realm. However, I find instrumental guitar music to be the thing that just stumps me. I have no idea what to do with writing that kind of stuff. And so my question is like, how are you considering like form? How are you considering melody? Because it's not as the same with like a lot of instrumental music. It's just a soaring lyrical melody, but a lot of times with guitar, you can play some. I mean, especially your stuff. I mean, I think about things like you've done, like Jumpstart, where it's just such outside playing, just runs the song off, and it really appeals to me because I love jazz and rock as much as the next guitar player. But I always wondered how did you develop some of your compositional skills and compositional techniques, and what are the things you're looking for when you're building a song?
Good question. I mean, so like I said, it was a crash course because once he told me that that he wanted to sign me and that now I had to come up with songs, I had to really immediately put my head in it and get in that frame of mind. But if I'm to be honest with you, the mindset is not that much different, for me at least, with instrumental music, where I want it to be interesting. So I usually have a sort of A-B version, in verse, chorus, or verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then a bridge, and then solo format. I mean, to be honest with you, that carried right over into instrumental music for me, which is different than a lot of instrumental stuff, because a lot of instrumental stuff I hear, particularly in the more leading jazz fusion, is often just sort of a head where it's just a melody line, and then everybody just kind of takes turns blowing over the chord format that the melody line was built upon. But I like stuff to be interesting. So the music for me is really the number one thing. Like I try to say to myself, what would I want to listen to if there was no guitar solo on this? I don't want people fast forwarding my song to get to the solo. I want people to like the song. So I put a lot of time and effort into making sure that somehow it's hooky. I mean, the same thing I would do for basically a vocal tune. I want it to be catchy. I want it to be hooky. And if it's not, then I want it to be interesting on some level. It's got to have a hook. It's got to hook you in and make you want to keep listening. So it's such I could not answer that question specifically because every single song brings with it its own parameters and its own mood. But the first thing that happens with me is I just think about the groove and the feel. What is the head nod factor? What do I want? What do I want to say? Is this song going to be a ballad? Is it going to be melancholy? Is it going to be aggressive? Is it going to be kind of cocky? Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be funky? So that's the first thing that happens is I sort of decide on the mood of the song and the general feel. And then I want to come up with something that I would put in the category of a verse that's going to be hooky, and make you anticipate the next section. So it's abstract and it's very hard to explain, but the same mindset that goes into writing a vocal tune is what goes into writing these guys.
So one of the things I absolutely love about your music, especially on the more fusion-y stuff you did in the 90s, like Introspection, is all the parts, the A-B sections and stuff, they just flow together so well. Like a lot of shred guitar players, like you said, you almost want to just fast forward to the solo and see how fast they can play or what lines they're doing or kind of a thing. But your stuff does not do that. Like obviously you get to the solo section and you blow our minds, but like I love how contrasting your A and B sections are, but still feeling good. And I was wondering how do you consider like transitions in your music? Are you purposely trying to make high contrast parts in the A and B sections, or is it just what flows together? What is your mindset on those kind of things?
I think it really depends on the song. I mean, it really does. Sometimes there's a lot of contrast. Sometimes I don't want there to be too much contrast. Sometimes I want sometimes it just depends on the song. If you'll notice, I'm trying to think of some examples. A song like Button Up isn't that much different a feel between the A and B sections. It's sort of the same feel throughout the whole song with slightly different melodies, and that's deliberate because I want that to have a sort of hypnotic flow that just keeps you in it. Other songs, I do want them to whip you around a little bit. I want them to jar you. I want the ride to stop and speed up and go up the hill and then go down. So I'm looking for that amusement park ride on other kinds of songs. I want to take you on a journey, a different kind of journey. So it really depends. But I'm happy that the sections feel like they meant something to me because they really do. I spend way more, guitar playing is like the sprinkles. The solos are just sort of added accessories. It's icing. They are not at all what I'm looking at. They're very last. The very last thing that happens. The song is everything to me. So I spend a lot of time on songs. I really do. And there's a lot of material that I've written and recorded that didn't make it on any released album because it didn't cut it for me. So I have to like the song. I have to believe that if I break a string on stage, if my rig goes down, I want to know that the song is strong enough that while I leave, the band can still have this cool thing happening on stage that people can still be into and still be rocking out to. So that's very, very important to me. Sometimes I feel like guitarists are just sort of writing things kind of just to have an excuse to blow over. And not always, but
there's a lot of them.
Right, sometimes. And to me, it's just like I love music, so I love songs. I'm a Beatles fan. I'm a Stevie Wonder fan. I love vocal stuff. Van Halen, I love music, and I love music that's not even. I love hooky music, so that the hook factor is important to me when it comes to instrumental. No matter how complex it gets, I still want it to have something that reels you in, makes you interested. So, again, your questions are really good. They're hard to answer because when you're talking about a creative process, it's sort of hard to explain because it's sort of like trying to explain why you feel a certain way. You know what I mean? I don't know why I would want this section of a song to be this way. It has to do with something that obviously is within me that I need to have come out musically. But I guess the process, when it comes to the process is more just constantly asking myself, would I listen to this? That's really what I'm doing all the time. Would I want to hear this if this weren't me?
I think that's a brilliant way to put it. I think of when I talk with a lot of the artists that we work with, a lot of them tell me like, oh, I feel stuck. I have writer's block. And a lot of times what I tell them is just keep digging. Just keep digging. And if the more you keep digging, the more you will find things that interest you. And as soon as you find something that interests you, stop what you're doing and run with that and see where it takes you. And if you collect 100 of those ideas that interest you, eventually 10 of them can form into an album. Maybe if you want to collect 200. I recently listened to an interview with Rick Rubin, obviously legendary music producer, and he says that he tells artists before he works with them, like, you're going to need to write 100 to 150 songs for this album, and we're going to pick the best ones. And so that's why like the Chili Peppers released 2 double albums last year. That's why Tom Petty just released the companion album, The Wildflowers, is because he forces those artists to get through all the bad songs, get through all the bullshit, for lack of a better term, until you get to that magic. So I 100% agree. It's all about just keep working.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, in the end, that's what it comes down to. You just keep plugging away. That's what it comes down to.